He woke every morning to sound, not sight. To most people, sunrise is a color. To him, it was a temperature shift, a soft hum of life beginning outside his small apartment window. The way birdsong curled through cool morning air like a whispered prayer. He knew the world without ever seeing it. Not in darkness. Darkness implied something missing. His world was made of vibrations and echoes and voices layered in a language only he could understand. And every day he walked the same route, cane tapping rhythm across pavement, hearing the world before it touched him. He didn't ask for help, didn't need to. Independence was his heartbeat. Most people in town knew him, waved at him, greeted him in markets and sidewalks. If you asked the locals, they'd say, "That's Daniel, sharp mind, strong spirit, reads people better than anyone with eyes." Daniel didn't work with sight. He worked with instinct. And every evening he sat behind a radio console at the town's emergency dispatch center. Not because someone gave him a kindness job, but because he earned it. He could hear panic in a breath, location in background echo, truth in a trembling voice, danger in silence. His ears were his map. And one night, the night the world tried to break his town, those ears became the difference between survival and catastrophe. It was just after midnight when the first call came in. A faint rumble in the distance, like thunder rolling beneath the earth. Windows trembled. Cups rattled. Dogs barked in sharp confusion. Most people thought it was nothing. Old pipes. A passing truck, nature adjusting its bones. But Daniel heard something else. A tone buried beneath the vibrations. Deep, unnatural, metallic, urgent. He straightened in his chair. "Dispatch, this is Daniel." "Go ahead," a trembling voice answered. "Some things, I think, oh God, the damn—" Static, screaming, silence. Then the phones exploded. Dozens of calls, voices layered in terror, feet pounding. Children crying in the background, water, roaring, flood sirens failing to activate. The town's dam, the one they always said was safe enough, the one engineers signed off on a decade prior, the one politicians promised needed no upgrades, was breaking. A wall of water was coming. Most people froze. Water emergencies weren't fire. They weren't storms you saw coming. This was a silent warhead made of river and gravity. And while everyone else panicked, Daniel listened. He formed a mental map. Every scream, every background echo, every direction wind carried water's roar. His town wasn't just lines on a map to him. It was streets and names and lives he carried in memory. He grabbed the emergency broadcast mic, breath steady. "All residents near Riverside, Hollow Bend, and East Mill evacuate immediately. Move uphill. Leave vehicles. Do not wait." He hit alarms manually when the automated system lagged. He radioed fire crews before they fully understood what they were responding to. He called school bus drivers out of bed to move to high ground and prepare to shuttle families with no transportation. He contacted the county one district over, demanded backup. He reached the local radio host, woke him mid-sleep and ordered him to broadcast evacuation alerts. He was not asking. He was commanding. A blind man orchestrating a town's rescue in the dark. Not because he was a hero, but because he refused to let fear drown his voice. Outside, chaos tried to swallow order. Streets flooded fast. Cars stalled. Electricity flickered and died in some blocks. But voices kept coming to Daniel through headsets, raw and desperate. "We're trapped! Water's rising! My baby! Please!" He directed them street by street, door by door, rooftop by rooftop. He heard fear but spoke like steel. "Hold on to something. Move away from low ground. Help is coming. Stay with me." And they did, because he never sounded afraid. Because he saw more without sight than most ever would with it. That night, the town survived not because systems worked, but because one man listened harder than disaster could roar. But dawn had not yet arrived, and before the sun rose over soaked streets, before headlines and news vans, before praise and disbelief and national attention, something else happened, something only Daniel heard. A voice on the radio, trembling, young, almost swallowed by rushing water. "Please don't hang up. I'm alone. I don't know where to go." And Daniel whispered, calm, unbroken, the way heroes never admit they're afraid. "I'm right here. You are not alone. I will guide you home." Storm sirens wailed late and weak, no match for the river's roar tearing through streets like an angry beast freed from stone walls. Streetlights flickered, blown by wind and panic. But Daniel's voice never shook. Not once. He could hear. The flood long before most people felt it. A rumbling vibration like earth breathing in terror. He could hear rooftops groaning, tree branches snapping, metal buckling under pressure. Fear lived everywhere that night, except inside the emergency dispatch room. Inside that room, Daniel commanded survival. "Unit 4, turn around. The current on Mill Street is too strong. Engine 2, there's a family trapped on the roof at Willow Creek. Ladder access from the rear. Bus 3, go uphill through Highland Road. Avoid Riverbend Pass. I repeat, avoid Riverbend Pass." Every second mattered. Every second someone screamed for help. He worked 3 radios at once, his fingers moving by memory, his voice slicing through panic like a lighthouse cutting storm fog. He had never seen the dam, never walked the riverbank, never watched the water surge through streets. Yet he navigated it better than men knee-deep in it. To him, the town lived in memory, in sound, in breath, in heartbeat, in crackling radios mapping a disaster, and in the chaos, that child's voice came again through static. "It's getting higher. I can't move. I can't—" Daniel pressed the headset closer, as if he could hold the child by sound alone. "You're doing great. I need you to tell me what you hear. Anything, a bird, a truck, wind direction. I will stay with you." A small breath, a whimper. Then, "I hear a bell, like a church bell." Daniel froze. He didn't need eyes, only memory. "Trinity Chapel," he whispered to himself. A hill, a narrow road, one of the last safe elevations if the worst came. "You're near high ground," Daniel told the child. "Turn toward the sound and start walking. Slow. Hold on to anything you can." "But what if I fall?" "Then I will catch you with my voice. Go!" Minutes crawled. Radios screamed. Firefighters shouted in background chaos. Still Daniel stayed on the line, guiding one frightened child step by painful step. Finally, voices erupted on another frequency. "Operator, we found him! He's here! Kid's alive!" A cheer broke in the dispatch room, exhausted, ragged, disbelieving. But Daniel only exhaled. Steady, slow, quiet. He didn't celebrate. Heroes rarely do. He responded only, "Ensure hypothermia protocol, wrap him warm, confirm transport," because the night was not done. Not yet. Hours later, as sunrise bled, pink over drenched rooftops and battered streets, the water slowed. The panic eased. Helicopter blades beat the morning sky, ferrying the last rescued residents. And when the mayor arrived at the emergency center, wet, stunned, half-breathless, he stared at the calm man sitting at the console, headphones still around his neck, shirt soaked in sweat. "You," the mayor whispered, voice cracking. "You evacuated the town? Without visuals? Without sensors?" Daniel turned toward the sound of boots dripping on tile. He didn't smile, didn't stand. "I listened," he said simply. The mayor swallowed, emotion squeezing his throat. "How many did we lose?" Daniel's hand tightened around his cane. "Not as many as we should have," he answered. When reporters arrived, they searched for a uniformed hero, a firefighter, a commander. But they found a man in headphones, tired, calm, humble, blind. Camera flashes burst like lightning, microphones blurred toward him. "Sir, how did you guide rescue teams without sight?" Daniel lifted his chin. "I didn't need sight. I needed sound and trust." A hush fell, not out of pity, out of awe. He didn't save people in spite of being blind. He saved them because he understood the world differently than anyone else in the room. That night, a town lived. Not because of machines, not because of politicians, not because of maps and screens and glowing warning systems. It lived because one man heard danger before it arrived and refused to let silence drown a community. But the world had one question left. How could a blind man predict and respond faster than a whole county's emergency system? Daniel simply touched his earpiece, the tool that connected him to the beating heart of a town. "I listen harder than most people see." By sunrise, the streets held stories of fear and miracles. A pickup truck wedged in a tree, firefighters coated in mud, faces smeared with exhaustion and disbelief. Parents clutching children as if letting go would summon the river again. Drivers abandoning cars to swim for rooftops. A town that should have been mourning, standing. And at the center of it all sat Daniel, still in the dispatch chair, hands resting on the console like a conductor after the last note fades. He didn't see the news cameras form a wall outside the glass window. Didn't see the crowd gathering, whispering his name like a blessing. He just listened to the hum of machines powering back on, to footsteps, to breath, weaving a mental map of survival in real time. A reporter pushed through the line, voice cracking with awe. "Sir, municipalities train entire emergency teams for disasters like this. How did you do alone what computers couldn't?" Daniel tilted his head, as if locating her by sound. "I wasn't alone," he said softly. There were voices everywhere. Panic has a direction, so does hope. Cameras panned over the room. Screens flickered. Emergency lights blinked tired red, but the town's heartbeat, its children, its workers, its elderly, they were alive. Hours later, at the community center now serving as a shelter, the mayor stood on a folding stage, voice hoarse from a night of shouting orders and prayers. "We stand here today," he began, holding back tears, "because one man never stopped listening. Firefighters, deputies, medics, soaked volunteers, all turned as Daniel was escorted forward, cane tapping softly on concrete. He didn't need applause to know the room was full. He felt gratitude vibrating in the air like warm thunder. The mayor lifted a medal, the kind usually reserved for line-of-fire valor. "This is the highest honor our town can give. For bravery, for leadership, for saving lives in the dark." Daniel did not reach for the medal. He reached for the mayor's forearm, grounding himself in touch. "I didn't save them," he said quietly. "They saved each other." I just helped them hear through fear." He spoke not like a hero, but like someone who witnessed humanity rise above the storm. That evening, national news ran the story. Headline: Blind emergency operator saves entire town from dam collapse. Commentators called him a miracle. Experts called him a phenomenon. Locals called him what they always had: family. He received invitations to speak at conferences. Agencies asked him to train AI alert systems using sound-based pattern recognition, building safety protocols based not on sight, but sound. Suddenly, the world saw what Daniel always knew. Vision isn't about eyes, it's about awareness. 1 year later, at the rebuilt dam site, they invited him to flip the activation switch on the town's upgraded early warning sonar sensors, technology inspired by a man who heard danger before anyone else felt it. He stood at the river's edge, cane planted firmly, breeze moving his hair. A child, the same child he guided toward the church bell, stood beside him, holding his hand. "What does the river sound like today?" the boy asked. Daniel smiled. "Slow, warm, knowing." "Calm," he said. "And full of second chances." He pressed the button. Sirens tested. Sensors hummed alive. The town erupted in cheers. Daniel didn't see their faces, but he felt every heartbeat. And in that moment, he whispered to the water, the land, the sky, "Thank you for letting me hear enough to save them." Sometimes the strongest eyes in a storm belong to the one who never sees lightning flash, but hears the wind shift, the earth tremble, a voice shake, a heart break, a town breathe, and sometimes a hero sits quietly in a chair in the dark, armed with nothing but a headset, a map in his memory and faith in the sound of hope rising. He did not see the disaster coming. He heard it. And he listened until the sun rose again. Vision is not what you see. It's what you refuse to ignore.